Hey everyone, welcome to another Marvel Monday, the final Marvel Monday talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as we'll be breaking down the finale today. Bekah, of course, has some more Marvel must-haves for us to take a look at before we get into this finale. So let's start there.
All right. Well, of course, this week there's a lot of stuff for Captain America. Spoiler if you haven't watched. So we've got Sam as Captain America, and we have several fun items. I really like this Spirit jersey that's available on Shop Disney, although I'm not completely sold on the back. But Kyle and I were talking about it. We're like, it looks better on than just on display.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not a Spirit jersey guy. I actually don't own a single Spirit jersey, but this one is pretty awesome. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, so I thought, well, we might be getting another one of these. But let me go back over here for a moment. There's several new items on Shop Disney, and they actually had more of their stuff up before I even got to see everything else for today. But yeah, lots and lots of stuff with Sam as the Falcon, or with Sam as Captain America. This shirt in particular I like because you can change the color.
Oh, nice.
I think I actually like it in white the best, but it looks good against the gray as well. So there's both of those. And then that design can be used. I don't know if you can see here. There's all sorts of different items that you can put it on. So if the t-shirt is not your thing, you can get something like the long sleeve raglan baseball tee, or you can even do a sweatshirt or a hoodie. So several different options there. And then there are the the magic bands are coming to Shop Disney according to the Marvel website, and we of course covered that. We have some pictures from in the park, so I will add links to that in our YouTube video at the end of this. But they also showcased a lot of the different pops and collectibles that are coming. I know you wrote about that today. Let me actually jump over.
Yeah, I got the new Hasbro Pulse figures that were announced today, including some Falcon and the Winter Soldier stuff.
Okay. I guess I didn't scroll through this as much as I should have, but the Monopoly is available as well for yeah. So there's a lot of fun. Let me go real quick back to okay, yes. So we've got some pop figures that are coming that I thought looked really cool, but I haven't seen pre-orders yet. I haven't spent a lot of time looking for them, but uh, there's just a peek at some of those.
Yeah, the Sam with the wings and that U.S. agent one. Those are two that I really want.
This winged one? I mean, I guess, oh yeah, or
Yeah,
that
that one there.
okay. And then US agent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot coming, and then yeah. There's some stuff on Shop Disney. Oh, and a John Walker fig pin and a Falcon and the Winter Soldier exclusive pin set on Amazon. There's some socks, so pajamas for your kid. And this, I should have pulled this up already. Does that look at all like the Winter Soldier to you?
This thing looks like Bucky maybe got stung by a bee in the face or something. I'm not sure what is happening with this.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Okay.
The
Well,
Sam one, I will say, the Sam one is pretty cool. I think the look there is pretty accurate, but
right.
yeah, the Bucky one is just a little bit off.
Yeah. So yes, much better. Like
Yeah.
you can totally see that that's the Falcon, whereas Winter Soldier, yeah, not so much. Anyway, those are more collectibles, and then there's some of the Cos Baby toys and just so much. Again, here's a Bucky that doesn't really look like Bucky, but
That one might actually look a little bit more like Bucky.
well, that's true. But Yes. Anyway, I will keep going if we don't stop me. So I think there's plenty for you to check out, and we'll have a link to that article and to the Hasbro stuff as well, so that you can check out everything.
I know there was one shirt on here somewhere that it was the definition of sorcerer. I
yeah.
love that shirt.
I don't think I actually pulled it up earlier on a separate tab, but yes, we've got the sorcerer, wizard without the hat, like a quote, and then
There it
there's also the hot topic. Yeah, it's a noun, sorcerer, wizard
is.
without a hat. So
Oh,
yeah,
so good.
it's pretty fun. Kyle and I were debating. I think I would wear this shirt over the other one that's just like a
The
quote.
quote. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so lots of fun stuff from Marvel today for the finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and I mean, like you brought up just a minute ago, there were some new Hasbro Pulse or Hasbro Marvel Legend series figures that were revealed today, including some Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but also some figures from WandaVision and Loki. So you can check those out on laughingplace.com right now.
Very cool.
You ready to move into this finale?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So this episode really wasted no time. We knew what we were getting into, and it just jumped right into it. And that meant getting everybody over to New York where the big fight was going to happen. We see Sam kind of fly overhead, but we don't really get a good look at him. I'm not entirely sure how Bucky got to New York so quickly. Don't know how that worked out, but, not going to argue with it. But yeah, we do see Bucky. He's in contact with Sam, so they're getting there and getting ready to stop the Flag Smashers from attacking the GRC right before their vote on the Patch Act. We also find out pretty quickly that Sam called in some backup, and it is this guy, which is actually Sharon in disguise. She uses that same sort of technological mask that we saw Black Widow use in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So that was pretty cool. I like that they brought that back, and of course, getting Sharon there made a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I thought that was cool too, and I was proud of myself for recognizing the technology. Be like, we've seen this before.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, cool that they brought that back because I didn't think that was ever something that we would see again. Although I think it's kind of funny that technology like this kind of seems obsolete and silly when we have a world with scrolls everywhere.
Right.
I want somebody to be like to see a scroll transform and then be like, oh well, this is useless now, and just kind of throw it away.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty funny.
Maybe that'll be in a later property or product or show or something.
Also, knowing what we know now about Sharon, which we'll get into in a little bit, probably makes sense that she got to New York so quickly. She was probably already on her way there, given the whole setup with Batroc that we saw last week and everything else going down here. But so that made a lot of sense to get Sharon in the mix. The Flag Smashers begin their attack on the GRC, and sure enough, we get Sam getting in there just in time to save some people, and we get our first look at the new suit that we talked about last week that we kind of knew was coming, and we're really excited to see before getting that mean cliffhanger when they just got black on us. What are your thoughts on the suit? And I have a few looks at it here.
Overall, I like it. I don't prefer the headpiece, like the white around the head.
Yeah.
It looks, I know that's kind of what his Falcon costume looks like in the comics. Is that right?
Yeah, this costume is very comic accurate, which I thought was cool. And I'm glad that they, built up to this moment as opposed to giving us this right from the get-go, because I thought, yes, it's comic accurate and I like that, but it's also a little bit cheesy. So yeah. I think like setting it up in the way that they did made it more impactful and fits better with like the MCU audience as opposed to just throwing it right out there.
Sure. Yeah, and I really do like the front. I like the red and white vertical stripes and then the star, with the blue. I like all of that. But yeah, there's some elements that just like, oh.
Yeah, I think it's just the goggles are kind of a weird shape, and then that head wrap that kind of comes all the way around is a little bit strange.
Yeah.
And doesn't seem very protective, like it would be serving a purpose. But I guess it could be, vibranium fabric weaved together or something.
Did you get a chance to watch the pitch meeting that went up today?
I have not, no.
Okay, they talk about just how his head is exposed, so won't say much more than that, but it's all in good fun.
So yeah, I think we agree on the costume here. I like it, but just that the headgear is a little bit weird. It Sam kind of gets in there and he goes right to work, and somebody asks him, "Who are you?" And I loved that without hesitation he looked at the guy and just said, "I'm Captain America." Like he's committed now that this is it. He didn't just put on the suit because he needed some gear. He is accepting the mantle as a whole.
Yes. And it feels so good. I think I was going to say this later, but just the idea, or like seeing Sam as Captain America versus John Walker as Captain America, like it felt so different. And it felt, I don't know. I think cathartic's too strong, but it just felt really good to see him like, yes, this is the person who should be following after Steve. So
yeah, I totally agree. And I didn't get that sort of gut punch feeling when we saw John Walker as Captain America for the first time, because like we've talked about before, I knew it was coming. I knew who this character was and what his arc sort of is going to be like. And so I wasn't on the complete opposite end of the spectrum for that one. And yet this moment still felt so strong. And it was just really cool to see Sam actually accept the role. So Sam is making his way throughout the building, and Batroc gets the drop on him, and we get our Batroc versus Captain America 2, but not exactly the same way we saw it the first time. There's Batroc there. I guess we'll kind of jump around a little bit because this is a hard episode to really discuss in order because of how a good 50% of this was just action and just, we're going from one fight to the next and then bouncing back to the other one. And then, so what are your thoughts on the well, I guess we'll broaden it eventually, but also just Batroc and Cap specifically here.
I mean, it was kind of fun to watch. I especially like the part where Sam throws the shield and Batroc kicks a chair and they like hit in the middle of the air. Sorry, let me just totally reenact that for you there. No, I enjoyed. If enjoys maybe not the right word, but I liked watching the two of them in this like hand to hand, fighting. They seem pretty equally matched too. And I had to keep reminding myself like Sam is the only, Batroc doesn't have any super soldier serum, but of everybody else, like they're kind of all on that even playing field. So Sam's had to do a lot all this time leading up to everything leading up to this, because he's not nearly as physically equipped with extra power the way that the others are. But
right.
Yeah, this was, I don't know. What did you think of the fight?
I liked it a lot. I think going back to Captain America: The Winter Soldier, was that this fight scene was one of my favorites. The Steve Rogers versus Batroc. Even if it was very one-sided, which makes sense given it's the real Captain America. I think this one kind of like didn't live up to that for me, but still, I think it was very enjoyable and my favorite piece of this whole action sequence here, because I love that hand-to-hand style combat that these two can do so well. And I mean, I've said this before on here too, I believe, but George St. Pierre, who plays Batroc, is one of my favorite fighters of all time to watch. So it's always cool to see him back in action.
Yeah.
So as this is happening, the GRC get evacuated, and we get this very convenient voiceover letting us know that two groups are going into different trucks, and then another group is going to a helicopter. And that's being announced throughout the building. Probably doesn't seem very effective for an evacuation, but sure. Carly, who's always playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers, manages to get Bucky on the phone as he's going through to stop the GRC from evacuating. And basically just they have this, he's trying to talk her down again, like Sam has been this entire series. And, she's telling him he's on the wrong side. The whole thing is really just a distraction, though, and Bucky gets played a little bit here. So, and there's a funny line, too, where Sharon comes up and is like, you had one job, Bucky.
Yeah, so. I love that. Okay, I know how you feel.
Yeah. And then, meanwhile, while this is happening, the Flag Smashers load the GRC into those trucks, but the security guards reveal themselves to be Flag Smashers. So, the GRC is basically getting tricked into evacuating right into the hands of the Flag Smashers.
Right.
Sharon bumps into one of them and very covertly places some sort of chemical weapon on him and kills him. Mm-hmm. At least we think it kills him, but it seems like that's the vibe I got from it.
I mean, you saw what happened to his face. Like, that doesn't look like something that you come back from.
Yeah, that was a moment where I was just like, oh, okay, this is not the same Sharon. Like, she is way more ruthless now, just absolutely willing to kill people like on a whim like that. So that was not a turning point because we knew, where this was going with her, but that was interesting to see for sure.
Like the lengths she is willing to go now versus what we've known about her before.
So like I said, the action kind of jumps around quite a bit here, and Sam ends his fight with Batroc and goes after the aforementioned helicopter that the GRC are evacuating in, which of course has been taken over by a Flag Smasher as the pilot. And Sam uses Red Wing. So yes, Red Wing is back. And uses him to find out if any of the GRC hostages in there have any flight training. So without seeing what's going to happen, he kind of lets us know what's about to happen, and there was a pretty cool build-up for that.
Did you notice the hexagons as Red Wing was reading Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I did actually. Now that you mention it, yeah, I saw that, and I was just like, oh, that's funny. But I'm trying to what's the word? Decondition myself on whatever it is, but to get away from those hexagons and the influence that WandaVision has had on me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's take a quick second here just to acknowledge. Hi. Thanks for watching. There's also another little break in the action when Carly and the Flag Smashers regroup, and Carly kind of sees that things are not going exactly according to plan. So she tells the rest of the group, worst case scenario, we have to kill the GRC hostages that we have. And they are not really on board with that, which was interesting. A nice, a complicated little scene between them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of feeling what they were feeling. Like, do you I support this movement. I support our ideas. I support what we're going for. But like, this is more than I signed up for. This, taking and killing hostages is that's a bit different than saying, hey, let's have a world without borders.
Yeah, that's very true. And it gets to the point where she tries to go for their answer and their, whatever it is that they're saying, they're one world, one people, and they don't answer her. And, she has to say it again and to get them to do it. I thought it was interesting, though, that we didn't really get a payoff from that. Like, it seemed like they were building up to the rest of the Flag Smashers kind of bailing on Carly. And I don't know, did you feel like we were going to actually see that happen?
I don't know if I thought they were going to bail, but I definitely thought there was going to be more with them or with the organization. Not to get too far ahead, but with the organization after everything that happens in this episode. And they kind of told us in a very, very quick moment, like, nope, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. I really thought there was going to be like a big turning point in the fight later on or something, but no, they kind of just left it at this one scene here, and then they just went back to their mission and just kept following Carly's lead. So it was a little strange, but Meanwhile, Sam, things get complicated with his chase of the helicopter as an NYPD helicopter gets involved and gets kind of knocked out of the sky. And so Sam saves these two officers and conveniently takes them to a bridge nearby. And you get some of the support from, New Yorkers watching from the side, kind of cheering for Sam as Captain America. And one that was interesting because, Isaiah's whole speech last week where, they would never accept a black Captain America and stuff like that. And here they are, right in the moment, just cheering for Sam in the red, white, and blue. Also, it's kind of funny because this has kind of become like a trope. Like, I feel like this sort of thing happens in every Spider-Man movie ever made, like where, the New Yorkers on the side are just like, go get him, Spider-Man. And now just go get him, Captain America. So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is something that they use a lot.
And this series hadn't taken place in New York. It was all over the place. But once they get to New York, that's when they decide to do it. It's like they need the New York accent in there or something.
Right.
Jumping back to Bucky, who catches up with the two trucks, which have now been stopped and completely taken over by the Flag Smashers. So Bucky catches up with them and, starts his fight with them. But Carly orders somebody to cause a distraction. And that means setting a fire on one of the trucks loaded with hostages. So Bucky has to break away from them and go free those hostages. So Bucky gets distracted quite a bit in this episode.
Yes.
But this one, I'll be fair here. I mean, that was probably the top priority at that point.
I would think so too. Not to just briefly, some of the stuff with the hostages, even when they like gas the room at the beginning of the episode, and then with everybody like kind of funneled into these armored trucks, it felt to me a little bit like Batman Dark Knight, where that with Joker, it was the stuff with Joker, but it had a very similar vibe, not quite as intense, at least for me. Maybe I've grown up a little bit, but yeah, kind of like, okay, we've got all these people together in one place and we can do some serious damage. So I think Bucky made the right call.
Yeah, definitely. Also, it's hard to believe how long ago that movie came out. That's 13 years ago at this point now. Jeez. Zach has us covered here. So the next thing that happens, as Carly tries to use that distraction of Bucky, she tries to, make her escape there. But, and at this point, I don't know if maybe you felt the same way here, but with all of this action going on and, getting overwhelmed with seeing Sam's new suit and everything else happening, I had kind of forgotten that John was going to join this fight. And so when he calls out, and I thought the delivery of this was so perfect, like the way he just angrily yells Morgenthau, and it's like, let's finish this. It was so good.
It was very good. I actually, it makes sense that we would see him in here, but I think in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, we saw him building the shield last week, then maybe that would just be it. I guess that doesn't really make sense, but yeah. So it wasn't a huge shock or anything, but it was like, oh yeah, that's right. John's part of this too.
Yeah.
And I like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just gonna say, I like his shield. It's a little sad and a little homemade, but I like it.
It's a lot better than I could do. I'll say that. Yeah, it wasn't a shock that John showed up. Like, I totally expected him to show up, but at this point in the episode, I had forgotten,
right.
that I should be ready for him. So it was a great spot to drop him in there. I thought, adding him into this fight was really cool. So he joins the fight, and him and he quickly gets overwhelmed by the Flag Smashers. But him and Bucky end up teaming up a little bit to work together and fight off the Flag Smashers, which I thought was kind of funny how quickly they clicked and had some chemistry. But that was also very cool to see. I mean, it was Bucky and Captain America working together again, more or less. Just dollar store Captain America, I guess. Right. Sam, we finally get caught up with Sam and we get that big moment with the helicopter that he's been going after. And he takes out the helicopter pilot, and Isla, who is this GRC hostage who he managed to get in touch with somehow. I can't.
Yeah, he was. I figure it's got to be like some of the Tony Stark stuff, like some type of AI that he's able to like communicate with people's phones. Yeah, I mean, if Red Wing was able to identify her, then he probably was able to pull up. Sorry, assuming Red Wing is male. Maybe it's a she. If Red Wing was able to identify her, then I'm sure there's something in there that, you know, probably says, hey, this person has their phone on them and this is the number. But
yeah, at this point, we probably just can't even question MCU technology anymore. So
right.
Yeah, so Isla takes over as the pilot and saves the rest of the hostages. So they had that nice moment where they worked together there. So that was pretty cool. Getting back to John and Bucky and the Flag Smasher. So Bucky gets knocked into, I don't even know, there's a construction site and it's a 100-foot drop off of the road. I'm not sure what's happening in New York. Maybe they're still recovering from one of the many other fights that have happened in New York.
But I mean, it's been what, six months since everybody came back? Yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe it was.
And that's 5 years after there was any other
right.
happening in New York. So, yeah, I don't know.
These are the things we want answers for, Marvel. What were they constructing in New York all this time after?
So anyway, Bucky is down, gets knocked down to this pit. So John is kind of on his own and gets knocked down by Carly, but Carly drives the other truck full of hostages. So now there's only this last truck, and bails from the truck and leaves it kind of hanging on some scaffolding where it's about to fall into this giant pit, presumably killing all the hostages inside. And John has a moment where he can either go after Carly, which he obviously wants to do. That's what he came here for. Or he can go and try and save the hostages from the truck. And I'm kind of torn on this. I've started to come around on this moment a little bit. Because, I liked this moment specifically the first time I watched it. But this was treated more or less as John's complete flip. Like his whole redemption is in this moment right here where he decides to go and save the hostages as opposed to going after Carly. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. It's like, did you feel like his redemption was rushed, or was it earned and well executed?
It was definitely rushed. And I keep, like, with all of the things that I have issues with this episode, I don't know how I would have done it differently or better to communicate all of these same things in such a short period of time. But it did feel rushed, or like there was no follow-up to it. So even if it was, in that moment he made that decision, we really don't get much after the fact. Like I've made mistakes and I'm going to do things differently going forward. I don't know. But I appreciated it, but yeah, it definitely didn't give, there was not enough time for it to like breathe, like you don't really get to know what entirely going through his mind. So you have to kind of guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would have liked, I don't know if I want this episode to be longer or if I want one more episode and stretch this out into 2 or something, but I think there was definitely more they could have done. Zach agrees this is the moment where John is redeemed, but also makes an interesting point here that John and Carly didn't get enough screen time. And I agree. I totally agree with that. I think John's redemption arc here could have used some more time. Carly as well. I think both of them, yes, they didn't get a lot of time, but the time that they had, they were both fantastic. And that's kind of what has turned me around on this moment a little bit, because John, Wyatt Russell, the actor who's playing John, does such a really good job of taking 4 or 5 seconds, having no dialogue, and yet you can see the emotion on his face and what he's going through, and the moment in which he decides to become this hero instead of doing what he wants to do for himself.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a really good point.
And I mean, that speaks to how good this cast has been too this entire time. I mean, we obviously knew Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie were going to be great, but you know, the rest of the cast has just been really, really good all throughout, especially Wyatt Russell as John Walker.
Well, and this is still kind of experimental for Marvel with, I mean, yes, they've done shows before over on Netflix and on, like, you know, on ABC and on Freeform, even on Hulu. So they've done like the TV thing, but this is the first time that the MCU has been kind of both condensed and stretched out into a series, if you will. Like,
Yeah,
so I think they've delivered two really, really strong products. And yeah, we're gonna have some criticisms, but I think
sure.
overall, like, this is what we want, right? Like, more with certain characters. So
Yeah. Yeah, if this had been done in a movie, it just wouldn't have had the same effect with, you know, they wouldn't have been able to do so much with John Walker, and which I think they did such a good job. And here you can see what I was talking about, that look on his face that tells you, you know, exactly what he's going through here. So John does decide to go and save the truck, except he doesn't, in true John Walker fashion, he can't really get the job done. And the rest of the Flag Smashers jump him, and you know, they take him out, and they all fall into that pit as well. And just as the truck is about to fall in, it's kind of funny to me that you know, you got Bucky and you got John, these two super soldiers, and they can't save this truck. But then here comes Sam, Captain America, the only one there that's not a super soldier, and manages to lift this truck back up to safety. Granted, with a lot of help from technology,
right.
from Wakanda. So yeah, this was a cool moment. And to add to it, you see two bystanders watching, and one of them says, "That's the Black Falcon right there," and then another guy says, "No, that's Captain America." And that was that. At this point, I thought, you know, it was a little bit cheesy, but also, but still pretty cool to see that the public is accepting him as Captain America.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. Like, this is Marvel's way of communicating, or the show's way of communicating, that yes, the public is accepting him. Not only has Sam accepted himself as Captain America and saying, "Yes, I can live up to this. I want to be this person, this icon, this symbol." But then, yeah, you've got, like you said, the public embracing it. So, yeah, while it's cheesy, I think it's important that they included it.
Absolutely. Another interesting point from Zach here. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this because I usually catch the music cues like that, but they played the same music as when Bucky was trying to rip out Tony's arc reactor from Civil War, as John was trying to lift the truck. So that's very interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out again. And then also, we gotta give John an A for effort. I mean, he's doing his best.
That's true.
So after Sam saves this truck, what we're left with here is Sam, Bucky, and John versus the Flag Smashers, which was set up to be awesome. Like that final big fight. And then Batroc came in and ruined it and shot some gas grenades in there, and the Flag Smashers made their escape. So the 2.5 heroes, we consider John a hero in this moment already. It's kind of hard. Like that, like we said, like that was the moment where he turned his character, and we just have to accept it that quickly. So yeah, I guess the 3 heroes go chasing after the Flag Smashers into some underground tunnels. And you know, they split up to go after them. And you know how that sort of thing always works. We're gonna get the one-on-one fights and the big face-up at the end. Only things did take a little bit of a turn, and it's actually Sharon that gets the drop on Carly. And they have a little talk here, and we find out that Sharon is in fact the power broker.
Yeah, that's what I've been dreading. I was like, I didn't want that to be the reality of it, but here we are.
Yeah, and I was surprised by this only because Marvel had made it so obvious that she was the power broker that I thought there was going to be a twist coming in some way. I'm going to hold on to the theory that there still is a twist with Sharon that we'll see sometime down the road. But for now, Sharon is in fact the power broker. We find out that she's worked with Carly before, and they've had, you know, existing relationship. Batroc overhears this same conversation and uses it to his advantage. He tries to blackmail her into getting her money. Sharon lets us know, I mean, verbally, that she does not like blackmail, and she kills Batroc. But in the process, Carly shoots Sharon. So Sharon is now hurt. Sam hears the gunshots and manages to, make his way to their location. And when he gets there, it is Carly pointing the gun at Sharon and, looking like she's going to finish her off. So Sam jumps in, saves Sharon, and that starts off the big one sort of blow-off fight like I was talking about. Only Sam didn't actually want to fight Carly. So he's refusing to fight her while she's throwing all these punches. And we talked about this on Zacks of Life, which new episode's out right now. You can check that out. Kyle and I both made connections, and Kyle's makes way more sense. I don't know why I made the connection to this being like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, where Darth Vader is trying to goat Luke into fighting. And it's got sort of the same thing here. Like Carly is trying to get Sam to fight back, and he just refuses to fight. Kyle made the point that this is more like Sharon's speech, where when someone tells you to move, you plant yourself like a tree and say, "No, you move." And I think that is much better fit. What were your thoughts during this fight?
I not even so much making connections. I just appreciated seeing Carly so upset, and she's like, fight me. Like, I don't know. I kind of like seeing that sometimes where it's like, I'm so angry. I need somebody to fight me back. I need, like, if you just sit there and take it, that does me no good. I want to actually have some type of, something pushing back. So I really appreciated seeing that, but I didn't even think about connections the way that you guys had.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I set out to do. It just kind of popped into my head as I was watching it. It's actually another interesting Marvel connection here, kind of similar to Captain America and Punisher. They had a little fight in the Civil War comics, and Cap actually tells Punisher or Frank Castle, I should say, to fight back, and he says, "No, I won't fight you." And so that, I mean, it's a different dynamic there for sure, but a pretty cool thing to pull from potentially. There was a moment during their fight, and we talked last week about how we thought, some older Captain America lines might recall in this, specifically Bucky saying, "Let's hear it for Captain America." Thought that might come up. It didn't, unfortunately. I thought for sure there's a moment in this fight where Carly knocks Sam down, and she tells him, "Stay down." And he gets up and he says, "No." And I was so disappointed. I thought for sure he was going to get up and say, "I can do this all day." I mean, what do you think? Would you have liked to hear him say that, or do you want that line to just be retired?
I mean, it's very much Steve's line, which they even make fun of in Endgame. He's like, "I can do this all day." He's like, "I know." So yeah, and probably in hindsight is a good thing to retire. But yeah, I do wish that he would have had a better response than no.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that I have to imagine that they were, kind of playing at us there. Like they were thinking, oh, everybody's going to be expecting him to say the thing. And no, that's it. Just no.
So instead of like Avengers Assemble, will he have some saying like, "Hey team, let's all get together," or something?
That would be pretty funny.
Time to converge.
He does. I think actually it would be a pretty cool moment when the first time we do get to hear him say Avengers Assemble, because that's sort of the like over the top, like, yes, he's 100% Captain America now if he's leading the Avengers. So hopefully we do get him to say that, but it would be a good spot to leave a joke like that as well. So we'll have to wait and see.
Just call everybody and, let's do our thing.
Avengers converge. Yeah, that would be pretty funny. Meanwhile, during this non-fight between Carly and Sam, Bucky and John catch up with the Flag Smashers, and they do so using their app, which I thought was really funny. And I was like, it's about time that backfired on them. Like, they should be, that should have been very easy to track. And I guess Torres was using it in parts too, but they never like really used it to their full advantage like they could. And so John actually gets in and quotes Lincoln. I don't remember the entire quote, but something about mercy being better than swift justice or strict justice or something like that. And it's again that sort of confirmation that, okay, this is not that same John Walker that we've come to know. This is, he's turned over a new leaf. He's going to become a hero in some respect, at least. And then, also one more other thing I wanted to mention too is the kind of banter that Bucky and John share as they're walking off, where Bucky kind of jokes with him about quoting Lincoln, and they fire back and forth a little bit. So not only did they have chemistry as they were fighting the Flag Smashers, but also now just like in a personal aspect as well, they have that same sort of chemistry.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they're somehow related. He's like a great nephew or something. Because they did seem to like click pretty quick. So.
Right. I mean, both military families, so I don't know. Getting back to the fight between Cap and Carly. Carly does pull the gun on Sam and has him basically dead to rights, and then Sharon actually saves Sam and shoots Carly and kills her. Sam rushes to Carly's side, and I mean, she literally dies in his arms, but the last words she says are, "I'm sorry." And I'm curious to know, like, what do you think that she meant by that? Like, what were we supposed to take away from her last words?
Probably, I mean, for me, it feels like I'm sorry that it got to this point, and I think she realized, like, even from their previous interactions, that they shared similar like viewpoints and values. They just had different ways of going about things, and so I think she was just, I mean, I guess sorry that they didn't get to actually work things out, and that it escalated to what it was. I don't know. At least that's what I took it as. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't sure what to take from that, because I mean, I get that I agree, like what you were saying, like she's apologizing for not listening to him and going about this the way that he had suggested she does. It just felt like a little bit of a weird moment for her to realize that, but I guess, I've never been shot before, so I don't really know what's going through your mind at that point. So I thought it was definitely interesting, though, and something that actually managed to elicit an emotional reaction from, I would guess, a lot of people watching, which was surprising to me because Carly wasn't a character. I thought she was very interesting, and the actress did a fantastic job, but that wasn't a character that I would have had any emotional connection to, and yet they managed to make this an emotional moment.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah, I think you're right on that. Even what we had seen of her, you know, sorry, I'm like,
No, you're good.
yeah, it was emotional, and it's just a testament to the writing and to the acting as well. How
Yeah,
how this story is still so compelling even with such little time with these individual characters.
absolutely. And speaking of individual characters, I have another one I want to ask you about from this moment here. So Sharon pulled the trigger when Carly had a gun aimed at Sam. Was her primary objective to save Sam here? I don't think Carly would have actually killed him. It didn't seem like that was the dynamic that was going on here. I personally think Sharon was acting in her best interest, because now you've got Carly here who knows who the power broker is, and she has to cover her tracks here.
Well, okay, so not to veer off on a tangent, but it was something I was thinking about as we're talking just a few minutes ago. Sharon willingly let Sam and Bucky and Zemo go see Dr.
Yeah.
Nagel, is that his?
Yes. Yeah.
And then Zemo killed him before he was able to reveal who the power broker was, but she let them go to,
Mhm.
and Nagel knew who she was, right? Like, so did Zemo know? Did she have some type of like agreement with Zemo, like get as much information, like, let him tell them what they need to hear, and but kill him before he reveals anything? So I mean, I'm very curious if she is, yeah, is she actually trying to protect Sam, or like you're saying, in her own interest? And if so, then the way that everything has happened previous to this, like you have to look at that from a new perspective. Um, unless
Yeah.
she's like a double agent or something.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. Honestly, I think going back and watching that what was it, the third episode now, would be very interesting because I remember I said back at that point when Zemo killed Nagel, it seemed like Zemo might have known something else and he didn't want Nagel to share any more information. I don't know. I'm very interested to see how this plays out because there's definitely a very interesting dynamic going on with Sharon. You know, lots of questions involving like why did she let them go and get so much information, and I don't know. I'm very interested to see how it plays out though. After Sam brings Carly's body back up to the surface here, he meets with the GRC representatives who they just helped save and gives this long Captain America speech. It's very Captain America, but convincing them to do a better job and to not label the Flag Smashers as terrorists, and basically just trying to inspire them to, in true Captain America form, inspire them to be the best that they can and do, the best job that they can in trying to get everyone acclimated to this new post-blip world. Which to me, I was just like, okay, this is a very inspiring speech, and I get it, but you still have this impossible problem ahead of you. I don't know what their solution is going to be.
Right. And that's, I mean, it probably would be, it would probably be boring to watch it play out. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think we actually want to sit down and watch negotiations and say, well,
Right.
how about we implement this, and this, and how we'll, but yeah, it's one of those things where it felt like everything de-escalate, or like, yeah, de-escalated so
Yeah.
quickly. Like, he shows up and he makes his plea to the senators and to the other global leaders. And it feels very much like something Sam would say, but you wouldn't have somebody just like, oh, like everybody was so accepting of it. Is it because there were cameras? Because they knew they were on television? Because like it all I I liked what he said, but yeah, it seemed to like, okay, we took care of that, we solved that problem, now we can
Yeah.
move on to the next thing. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
you're right. Like I want more of a solution, but at the same time, don't want to watch an hour of them trying to come up with one.
Right, right.
So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It's worth noting too that his whole speech is televised by the media that's there, reporting on the whole situation going on in New York, and we see a few people watching his speech at home, including Isaiah and Eli. We see Sarah back at home in New Orleans, and we see Torres watching as well. So, I mean, Sarah, obviously, for the purpose of being Sam's remaining family, basically. Isaiah, the importance there being that he's trying to win him over, more or less. And then Torres you're inspiring a future hero. Hopefully, quite literally. I would imagine we're going to see him as the new Falcon at some point. So we'll have to see how that goes. But interesting that we got to see those characters witnessing this. After this
Because
is
in
done.
reality, he would actually probably like they would all call him, or he would talk to them or something and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, here's what's going on." But yeah, you don't have time. You don't have time to do that in
Right.
a show, and it's one of those things where we're like, "Oh, it would be really great to see this," but then you're like, if they did it, we'd probably be like, "How boring." He went and showed up at Isaiah's place and said, which he does, but
Could
like,
have been longer.
Right, right, and nobody actually wants to see that.
Right. After the speech is done, Sam meets back up with Bucky, and Bucky calls him Cap. And it flows so naturally, and it's another nice moment. They catch up with Sharon, who refuses to go to a hospital despite being shot in the stomach. Not sure how she handles that moving forward, but Sam does tell her, yeah, does tell her he didn't forget his promise to her and that he's going to help to get her a pardon. So we have that to look forward to, not too far in the future. The Flag Smashers we see being loaded into a truck by some police officers, you would assume. And we hear that they're going to be transferred to the raft. And one of the officers leans into them just before closing the door and says, "One world, one people." So there's a moment where you're like, oh, we're not done with the Flag Smashers. They're going to get out. They're going to be, they're going to be causing problems again. The truck drives about 20 feet and then it blows up. And so all of the Flag Smashers are gone now. And we pan up to see a man in a car holding what looks to be a detonator. And then we can see that it is Oznik. I believe I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Zemo's butler. So he puts the detonator back into his pocket. And then we cut to the raft where we see Zemo in his cell listening to the radio and getting that news report of the car bombing that the Flag Smashers died in. And my absolute favorite moment of this entire episode, honestly, maybe of the series, he just looks right at the camera, smiles, puts it down, and he's comfortably in his bed. And I thought that was such an awesome moment for Zemo, who is, just perfectly summed up his performance in this series. He was so calculating and a step ahead of everybody. And it was just a perfect ending for him.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm sorry you didn't get Thunderbolt Ross like you were hoping, but I'm
Yeah.
I'm glad we did get a little more of just a teeny bit more of Zemo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
And just
definitely thought that they were gonna take the Flag Smashers somewhere else, like, "Oh, you're in this truck, but we're sending you somewhere else. You're not going
yeah.
where you think you're going." Oh, you were gonna say something.
But yeah, just getting to see Zemo in the raft and still managing to, as Zach asked here, how did Zemo pull this off? He's Zemo. That's the only answer. But still, seeing him being able to pull things off like that from the raft, I think it still sets up for the future, because if Ross wants to get his hand on somebody to lead the team, and Zemo's doing stuff like this still, there you go. They're set up to meet in the future. I was still hoping at this point to get that in the post-credit scene, but unfortunately we did not get something very different that we will get to in a little bit here. But first, so they're kind of going through and wrapping up everybody's stories, right? So this is wrapping up Zemo's story. Next, we get John's, and we see Val talking to Olivia. And honestly, any screen time we can get for Val is fantastic, because Julia Louis-Dreyfus has been so good in the little role that she's played so far. But she gets the news of that same bombing, and she's like, "Oh, it looks like Zemo got the last laugh," or "Unless I planned this. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't. Or maybe I did." And it's like just that whole back and forth with herself. It's so good. She's going to be so entertaining going forward.
I think so too. I thought it was weird though that they were at the same building where he had his hearing, or at
Yeah.
least it looked exactly the same. Like, why would you be back there? But I digress.
Yeah. No, that was a little weird. But the main purpose of that scene was to see where we're going to go with John in the future. And what Val reveals to us here is John's new suit. So it's basically, as John says, it's the same, but black. So it's not that red, white, and blue Captain America suit. It is a fairly comic accurate US agent suit. And Val actually says, we don't need Captain America. We need a US agent. And so that's where we've got John going forward. I loved it. I loved this suit. I loved his reaction to it and how excited he was, yelling, "I'm back," at the end of it. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think so too. And we don't know what he's going to do. And like you said, in the comics, he's kind of has his own way of going about things and getting justice. So I'm still a little hesitant about him, but this feels so much better than having him as Captain America. Like I cannot stress enough how how different everything feels. It's like, okay, everybody's where they're supposed to be. All the pieces are in the right place.
Yeah, and I wonder, would people have felt the same if he had been in this suit from the beginning and had the same exact attitude, acted the exact same way he did, but was just going by U.S. agent and not Captain America? I wonder what people's reaction would have been like to this character.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Well, I'm excited to see what he does in the future and how people feel about this character going forward. But the next bit of closure we got was for Bucky, who goes to work on making amends like Sam told him to. And he goes to Yuri Nakajima, who we saw him with first episode, and tells him, the truth about his son. He doesn't say, "I killed your son," and I think that was important to note too. That what he actually says is, "The Winter Soldier killed your son, and I was the Winter Soldier." So, not he's letting him know what happened without actually saying, I killed him, because it wasn't really him, and he's moved on from being the Winter Soldier. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, he said he didn't have a choice, and I'm like, I don't know if that was the best use of words, but
Yeah,
also, like, I understand that he wasn't, like, we understand he wasn't making those decisions when he was activated as the Winter Soldier. So,
right.
yeah, he didn't I guess Bucky didn't have a choice, but, um, I felt like this was too short of a thing too. I'm glad we got to see it, but I would have liked to have something from Yori, whether he was like, like, "I can't forgive you right now," or
Mhm.
I need you to leave. Don't like, I need to think about this."
Right.
Something, anything. It just was like it was so abrupt. So I felt that that was
It
a missed
was.
opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure what more I would have wanted to see, but
Right.
it did feel like this was kind of rushed a little bit at the end here. So, and again, that goes back to trying to cram all of this into 1 hour long finale here. Uh, Maybe they could have gotten more if they did another episode, but
Or didn't have a
uh,
boat montage.
that's true too. The final piece, well, I guess the penultimate piece of closure we got here. Sam meets up with Isaiah and Eli, who is I'm always mentioned because I'm so excited for what he's going to be in the future. But he's won Isaiah over. Isaiah admits, you're special, and so I thought that was important to see there. But then also he takes both of them to the Smithsonian, which I believe that's the museum that they've been going to, right? The Smithsonian. That would make the most sense.
Yeah.
They've been in DC and they're coming from Baltimore here, so it's pretty close. So he shows him that Captain America exhibit that we've seen in previous movies and even in this series, and shows him that he has gotten a new wing of this exhibit dedicated to Isaiah, which was really cool to see, and obviously elicits a big emotional response from Isaiah, who embraces Sam in the end, and has kind of completely come around on Sam being the new Captain America. So a good wrap up to their story as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it felt satisfying. Like it didn't feel out of place, and everything that had been presented to us to have this as the payoff. I think they did a great job.
Yeah, I totally agree with this one. They definitely took their time with this one as opposed to what they did with Bucky's story. It ends basically with Sam and Bucky coming together, celebrating in New Orleans, and with their family and all of the neighbors and everything. And Bucky really has become a part of this family now, and everything seems really natural for them. So it was nice to see, the fact that their relationship is, on good terms again, and to see, well, actually for the first time, because they never really were friends before this series. So now they are, and excited to see how that plays out going forward as well, because now they're clearly on the same page. And the last shot we get is them looking out at the sunset. before the screen cuts to black and gives us the show title, except a little bit different than what we saw before, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So I thought that was a really cool finish. I expected to see something like this in some capacity. I honestly, going back to before this show started, I thought we were going to get a quick change in the show title, and it was going to be this from the beginning. But yeah, they still gave it to us in the end, which was nice to see.
I like it. I agree. I like that it was Falcon all the way through until I liked seeing the whole thought process for
Mhm.
Sam as well until like this absolutely feels earned and feels right. So
Yeah, agree. Did, as I alluded to earlier, we did get a post-credit scene, and it was not Thunderbolt Ross. It was Sharon Carter. She gets her pardon. She, with that same senator who had John on trial earlier, and who also apparently has the power to just give her a job at the CIA again. I'm not sure how that works, but she's back and she's got her old job back. And as she's walking out of the room, she gives the camera a nice sly smile, very Zemo-esque of her. And we see her make a phone call and tell somebody on the other line to set up their buyers because she's about to have access to government secrets and prototype weapons and all kinds of new stuff. So clearly, despite being back and having her old job, she is still going to operate as the power broker.
yeah. Do you have any idea who she's calling?
I don't, and I don't. I didn't get vibes of it being somebody that would be higher up than her. I would think it's somebody that is working for her. That's just how I felt the conversation kind of went. So I don't think it'll actually be anybody worth noting. But I mean, I still have my theory about Sharon. So I think, it could be a lot of different things. I am going to say Sharon Carter is a Skrull. I think that will. I think they have to have some character who actually has some level of magnitude to her. And I think Sharon is a good candidate for that, to actually give it some impact when it's revealed that these people are actually Skrulls. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a while before we see that payoff, but that's still my theory that I'm rolling with here.
I'm just now thinking of this. The senator addressed her as Agent Carter, which obviously that's her name. I know in the previous installments she was like Agent 13, right? Or was
Yeah.
she Agent Carter? Is there anything to that? Like her aunt was Agent Carter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I didn't really think about that. I'm trying to remember now. Did they refer to her as Agent 13 in Winter Soldier? I think going back to that, I believe they did. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. That is potentially something interesting. I did point out the senator in Zacks of Life to be a potential Skrull as well. So who knows? I mean, there's a lot of different things they could be doing here.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of how he can get her job back. Like he's, who knows?
Yeah.
I was telling Kyle, I'm just a random thought. I was like, could it possibly be Kingpin? I have no idea if any of those things connect, but I know that fans are very excited for like the Daredevil character, hoping that he'll reappear. And isn't there rumor that he might be in Spider-Man or something? Or
Yeah.
I don't know. So I thought this feels like a place where Marvel could tease something without a payoff for a long time. And that might, but that's just me pulling out Marvel names that I know. So
No, the connection makes sense. I mean, with the whole crime boss sort of thing going on there, she could be working with another one. That could be her connection in New York, for instance. So it's possible. Like I said, I didn't get the vibes that she was talking to somebody important, but it's very possible. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, we do get Daredevil and the Kingpin in the MCU fairly soon, though.
yeah.
So, what were your thoughts overall on this finale here?
I mean, I liked it overall. I thought I liked the series overall, but as far as this finale, I felt like things could be a little bit tighter or more polished. It felt a little rushed, which you've had all of this time to tell the story, and I think the writers were picking things that were either there, and who knows, maybe it's stuff that's important for us to know now, that'll come up later on, and so we have to develop some of that here, and it just doesn't, it feels a little weird and rushed here, but it'll, pay off later. But I just some of it was like the speech taking place on television. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I pretty much word for word agree with you there. I mean, I really, really like the series as a whole. I think they really hit their stride in like episodes 3, 4, 5. I thought they did a really, really good job there. So definitely loved the series. The finale, I think, left a little bit to be desired. And I think that's funny going back to WandaVision, I had the same feeling. I mean, we both did really. We thought the finale felt a little bit rushed. And both of these times too, we talked about the episode before the finale saying, they left a lot of stuff to be answered still. They're going to have to cram a lot of things into this finale. And it felt that way both times, I think. That being said, the episode was still definitely entertaining. There was still some really cool action and a lot of really great stuff in there. I just wish it could have been stretched out a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Just a little bit longer, or like you said, maybe another episode. Something to just kind of, yeah, they tied up all their loose ends, but it was like we just did one like quick little tie instead of, taking time to make sure it's all secure.
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we wrap up?
I mean, I'm enjoying everything that Marvel's done so far, so I'm very grateful that we get to spend time in these smaller pockets, if you will, instead of just the movies. So it doesn't
Yeah.
feel boring, and it doesn't feel like a waste of, like, oh, we're just going to tell a creative story because we need to. Like, it feels very purposeful, and it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, and it is really cool to see this sort of unprecedented form of storytelling, going back and forth between movies and TV. And like you said, like it's not them telling a story for the sake of telling a new story. It is linking to other things and calling back to old things and setting up future. So it is really cool to see. I think they're 2 for 2 so far. I think WandaVision was fantastic. I might have liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier a little bit more, even mostly because of Zemo. And I think John Walker was a great addition as well. So, yeah, they're 2 for 2. Can't wait for Loki. And I'm sure they're going to keep this hot streak going. But we will be back next week. We have Marvel's assembled the making of Falcon and the Winter Soldier that we'll be talking about next week. So we will have that. After that, it's going to be a little bit of a break for us. We're going to be jumping back over to Star Wars with The Bad Batch coming to Disney+. So then we'll be back in June when Loki debuts. So I'm excited for that. Going to start counting down the days.
Yes.
We do have, later today, we have Disney Parks Talk Live coming up at 4 p.m. Pacific. And then tonight we will have LP Movie Club as well. And then, like I said earlier, new episode of Zacks of Life is out. We will have Barely Necessities tomorrow night with Bekah, with the Rebeccas.
The Rebecca.
Yep. And Marvel Time will be on Wednesday, where Benji and I will break down the latest in Marvel Comics. So until then, yep.
I was just can I ask what you drafted this week on Zacks of Life?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm glad you asked. We drafted, so to give you a little bit of backstory here, Thanos got his hands on the Reality Stone and jumped into the reality of the Muppets. So now we have to assemble teams of Muppets to stop Thanos. So that is what we drafted on Zacks of Life. So you can check that out right now.
That sounds very cool.
It was definitely a fun draft, that's for sure. All right. So check out Zacks of Life. We will be back next week. Barely Necessities tomorrow. And we'll see you then. Bye, everyone.